Hello students, in today's lesson we are going to look at the mole as a basic unit. So what is mole? It is defined as a counting or a weighing unit for very tiny particles present in a substance. These particles may be atoms, molecules, ions or electrons, or even other subatomic particles. 1 mole of any substance contains 6.023 times 10 to the power 23 particles, and this number is referred as Avogadro's constant, denoted by capital L. For instance, 1 mole of sodium contains the same number of particles as 1 mole of magnesium, as well as 1 mole of calcium, which is equal to 6.023 times 10 to the power 23. These are different elements, but since it is 1 mole, they contain the Avogadro's constant. Another example is that 1 mole of oxygen atoms contains the Avogadro's constant, atoms of oxygen. 1 mole of oxygen molecule contains the Avogadro's constant, molecules of oxygen, and 1 mole of oxygen ions contains the Avogadro's constant, ions of oxygen. This is one element. Provided it is 1 mole, they also contain the same number of particles. But remember, when you talk about atoms, here we talk about atoms, molecules, molecules, ions and ions. Therefore, provided it is 1 mole, the number of particles is 6.023 times 10 to the power 23. Example, to make the concept clear: how many atoms are there in 2 moles of nitrogen atoms? So we know that 1 mole of nitrogen atoms contains 6.023 times 10 to the power 23 atoms, because we are being asked about 2 moles of nitrogen atoms. So what about in 2 moles? This one, to get the number of atoms, we cross multiply 2 times the Avogadro's constant divided by 1 mole to get this one, and the answer to that question is 1.2046 times 10 to the power 24 atoms of nitrogen. Example 2, how many molecules are there in 2 moles of nitrogen molecules? We know 1 mole of nitrogen molecules has the Avogadro's constant molecules. Therefore, what about 2? We do a cross multiplication and then we get this one as the answer, 1.2046 times 10 to the power 23 molecules of nitrogen. Example 3, how many atoms are there in half a mole of nitrogen atoms? Avogadro's constant, 1 mole. We have this number of particles, so what about a half? We multiply and then we divide by 1 to get this number of atoms, 3.0115 times 10 to the power 23 atoms. Example 4, how many atoms are there in 1 mole of oxygen molecule? Here I want you to note this. We are talking about atoms and we have been given 1 mole of oxygen molecule. So we have to do an interconversion between atoms and molecules. Note, remember, 1 mole of oxygen molecules has the Avogadro's constant molecules. So in this 1 mole we have this number of molecules. But we know that 1 molecule has 2 atoms. Therefore, we put the molecules on the molecule side and then we do a cross multiplication to get this number of atoms. So we cross multiply and we get the number of atoms as 1.2046 times 10 to the power 24 atoms. The 5th example, how many molecules now are there in 0.6 mole of oxygen atoms? Here we have been given the number of moles of atoms. So we'll start with 1 mole of oxygen atoms contains the Avogadro's constant atoms of oxygen. Therefore, what about 0.6? We put this one on the mole side, 0.6. We cross multiply, then we divide by that to get the number of atoms as 3.6138 times 10 to the power 23 atoms. But we know 2 atoms make 1 molecule, so we put the atoms on this side, the value that we got here, then we do a cross multiply. After doing cross multiplication, you're going to get the value of molecules to be 1.8069 times 10 to the power 23. Thank you. Here is a quiz to test your understanding and the concept. I hope it will be clear for you. The questions are provided and the answers are provided in red. Work out, pause and work out all of them, and I hope you're going to get everything right. Thank you. Bye. Let's meet in the next lesson.